From Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, this is the news at 10, live from Channels Television. Reported tonight.
Hello and welcome. Tonight, tragic end for 13 passengers crossing the Link Canal in Lagos as boat capsizes. Presidency denies reports of resignation of Defense Minister Lieutenant General Aliyu Gusau, described it as untrue. Nigerian UK government officials chart new course for the nation's economy, call for reforms in education and power. And search for missing Malaysia airplane intensifies. Last conversation with pilot indicates aircraft was not in danger.
On Business News tonight, President Goodluck Jonathan authorizes an audit of the NNPC accounts.
And on Sports News tonight, court orders league management company to reinstate Giwa FC to the Nigeria Professional Football League.
And I'm Linda Kibe from Abuja. Ahead of International Day Against Racism, United Nations promises to defend and uphold the rights of all persons.
It was meant to be a brief crossover, but it went horribly wrong as 13 people drowned after a boat capsized at the 4th Avenue in Festac Town, Lagos, southwest Nigeria. The deadly voyage, which lasted just 10 minutes, cost them their lives. Eyewitnesses say it cost just 10 naira to make the journey, and this has been the case for so many years. Our correspondent Kelvin Obete reports.
Sorrow written on the faces of these residents of Festac Town, Amuwo Odofin. This is the scene of the boat accident which occurred in the late hours of Tuesday. Only rescue experts were allowed to go through the iron gate that serves as barricade to the canal. As at the time of this report, the lifeless body of one of the 13 dead victims was being taken away. About 6 persons are said to be receiving treatment at the Lagos State University Teaching Hospital, but rescue agencies as well as eyewitnesses have different figures as to the number of victims involved.
About 12 people, 12, they brought out 12 people there yesterday. 14 that they brought out this morning, we saw one. Now they're supposed to see the one they took. Now we didn't see the face, so we can be able to consult the family.
We recovered 11 bodies yesterday. Today we've recovered 1. Altogether, we've recovered 12 bodies. Bodies that were recovered were taken to Yaba mortuary, where the pathologists are handling them. The people that are saved alive are receiving adequate treatments at Lagos State Teaching Hospital, free of charge.
Amidst the controversy over the number of victims involved, rescue divers continue the search for the remaining bodies. Residents say they've petitioned concerned authorities on the need to replace the Link Bridge.
There's a motor bridge, no doubt, but it's a little bit far from here. And we find out that not everybody can start going and turn around to the motor bridge. But I felt the local government should have been able to construct another Bako bridge so that people can be accessible.
But the chairman of Amuwo Odofin local government area said transportation through the canal is illegal and dangerous, and that the council authority has sent several warnings on this.
It is a close. You can't construct a major bridge, a major road here. It's a close. The major bridge is just about 3,000 meters away from here. It's a walking distance and all of these things. We have appealed to them that in the physical planning of this place, a bridge have not been provided here. What was provided ab initio was a makeshift for the Festac Phase 2 about 15 years ago. And that bridge collapsed, I think, about 13 years ago or thereabout, and that led to the construction of a modern bridge. I myself do walk along this plane, trekking from 7th Avenue to my church at 6th Avenue for night vigil.
To buttress his point, the council bus embarked on a trek to the concrete link bridge provided by government. This bridge was constructed about a decade ago, and it serves as the link between 4th Avenue here in Festac Town and the 6th Avenue, as well as other parts of the community. It's actually about 5 minutes distant trek from where the incident took place to this point. On arrival at the medical emergency unit of the Lagos State University Teaching Hospital, were informed that the surviving victims that were brought earlier have been discharged.
We brought 5 boys yesterday. They were involved in the boat mishap yesterday. So both of them were treated. We carried out some investigations and they have been discharged a few hours ago in a stable condition, and they've all gone. We've supplied all the medication needed, even those ones that will be needed at home free of charge.
For now, rescue operations are continuing until the remaining bodies are retrieved. Kelvin Obetin, Channels Television News.
Well, to throw more light on this unfortunate incident, I'm now being joined on the news at 10 by the Information Officer, National Emergency Management Agency, Mr. Ibrahim Farinloye. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a long day for you, obviously, as you were there. But thanks for joining us tonight on the news at 10.
Good evening, ma'am.
Well, there are so many conflicting issues, but start by bringing us up to speed, with the whole casualty figure, the injured, and the rescue effort as at this evening.
Well, as at this evening, we were at the scene of the incident with the local divers and other agencies. Unfortunately, we haven't recovered anybody after the one we recovered around 10 a.m. this morning, making the 13th people we recovered, the dead body. However, overnight, we had to ask some people to stay back, the security agencies and some local divers to be on standby in case of any new discovery for the recovery activities.
So what you're saying is that in spite of the fact that there was a break in the investigation or in the search and rescue,
yes,
they had taken a break so that some of the bodies that were under could come up to the top. So in spite of that, there was no other body recovered?
Every disaster has its own dynamism. The dynamic nature of the present situation is that we don't have correct figure. We are only working on guess figure. So the possibility of having up to that number, we don't know. But according to one of the victims, they said there are more than enough. They didn't give exact figure of how many boarded the canoe there. So, but another person said 15, one said 19, another 24. So on this premise, we have to work on the highest number, at least, if we were able to.
So you have no idea how many people were initially?
Yes, we are not there. But what we know is that at the initial stage, when they were thinking of, they said there was an argument between all of them that you have overloaded. How many people are overloaded? We don't know. So that's what we are just working on guesswork. So if we succeed, we get more body. If we don't.
But NEMA was one of the first responders to this particular incident, and there were allegations that you arrived a bit too late, and a lot of the people had already died by the time NEMA got there. Is this true?
You see, we were not there when they were taking off, and until when information gets to us before we can act. We got the information around 10, 11, whereas the incident happened around 7:45. So we only respond when it's reported to us. And immediately the closest agency there, which is the police and civil defense, we have to alert them and the fire service to move in there. We alerted the Nigerian Navy Special Boat Service, which are specialized on such incident. We alerted them, they moved in before we got there as humanitarian angle for treatment of further maybe the wounded and other things. So we've done the best we can do as the information gets to us as fast as possible.
All right, so just finally now, what are the plans for the families, and seeing that the investigation is going on, what plans do you have for those who've lost loved ones, etc.?
Well, you know, after this type of emergencies, we have what we call psychosocial treatments. Those who have lost their relations, families, we will have to carry out psychosocial trauma treatment for them in order to overcome the stress and the trauma.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Ibrahim Fariloye, Information Officer for the National Emergency Management Agency, for joining us tonight on the News at 10. Well, moving on now, the presidency has described as false online reports that the Defense Minister, retired Lieutenant General Aliyu Gusau, has resigned. The Senior Special Advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Dr. Ruben Abati, told State House correspondents that Lieutenant General Gusau remains in office as the Minister of Defense. Dr. Abati also revealed that the federal government has authorized the engagement of reputable international firms for the recommended forensic audit of the NNPC account. Our State House correspondent Chukwu Maunekose reports.
It's a normal Wednesday, and members of the Federal Executive Council had convened for their meeting. Little did they know that the rumors were making the news, alleging the resignation of the Defense Minister, Lieutenant General Aliyu Gusau, retired, who was sworn in just a week ago. Presidential spokesman has to clear the air immediately just before what he described as untrue developed long legs.
This is to let you know that that story is untrue. General Gusau remains in office as Minister of Defense. He was absent from today's meeting of the Federal Executive Council, and this particular online medium cited that in support of his allegation that he had resigned. Well, he was absent from the meeting with the permission of President Jonathan. So the story is not true. He remains in office, and he himself has already dismissed the story as untrue.
The presidency is not also comfortable with the way the suspended CBN governor, Malam Sanusi, has been handling his suspension following what it described as weighty allegations of financial misappropriation against him. The federal government described as mischievous Sanusi's resort to unscrupulous interviews to mislead the public over his suspension, describing Sanusi's action as blackmail.
In keeping with his avowed commitment to full transparency, openness, and accountability in governmental affairs, the federal government has authorized the engagement of reputable international firms for the recommended forensic audit of NNPC accounts. The presidency condemns Malam Sanusi's resort to playing politics with serious national issues. His suggestion that the phantom missing funds may have been diverted to fund campaigns for next year's general elections is mischievous, irresponsible, and designed to incite other political parties and members of the public against the federal government. The claim, which amounts to cheap blackmail against the government and was clearly made in furtherance of his selfish personal agenda, is most unbecoming of someone who still holds the high office of the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria.
The presidency says ordinarily it would not join issues with Malam Sanusi, an appointee of the president, but that it has become necessary to put the record straight to avoid further misinformation of the public. Chukuma Onwepuse, Channels Television News.
In part 2, after the break, ahead of the Nigeria Economic Summit, experts make suggestions on boosting vocational skills plus science and technology. That's all in a moment. Please stay with us.